So, for a little over a month now, I've taken a bit of a break from making content. Basically, since the Ubisoft thing came out again this year, again, a little over a month ago, all my projects that I had lined up were based on Ubisoft games, either past or future. And I just didn't want to make any content. I mean, the 2-bit videos I did make before that break, the views were in the shits, but that's an entirely different point. If you remember, just before I dropped off, I had a video based on Ubisoft that was just called Hold Ubisoft Accountable, where I spoke about the recent resurfacing of the speaking out movement drama from last year, from 2020, and how Ubisoft had been caught up in it. How they had years, seemingly, of rampant sexual and just general abuse of employees, of people, employees abusing their power and trying to get involved with fans on a sexual level, that power dynamic, everything, and how it was all seemingly being, aware in the company, and they did nothing about it. And, the stuff from last month that really got my attention and a lot of other people's attention at the time were the reports that came out from sites like The Verge, or the statement Ubisoft put out, not through any of their own sources, like their own official Twitter accounts or Facebook, through sites and platforms like the Sisterhood, which had, was formed specifically out of the Speaking Out movement, or the Mentors Guild, which was initially a publicity thing for Ubisoft. Finding out that company had, after what happened, after what came out in 2020, finding out that company, a company that I used to adore, had done fuck all to protect its employees and its fan base, I was disheartened, and I didn't want to talk about the company anymore. I didn't want to talk about the games, I didn't want to talk about the people, I didn't really want to talk about the company, except until they'd either changed, or if I was talking about their misconduct issues. The issues that directly stem from speaking out. Now, we're a month on from that, a little over a month on from that situation, and you can tell by the title of this video, they've not changed. But my want to not talk about their games or their brands, their franchises, has to be dropped for a very small portion of this video, simply because what I want to talk about involves a new project that's coming up. So I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the code name and about how many years it's away, roughly, just to say it, because I think it's a bit of information that you need for me to kind of convey the point and the message of this video. I do want to stress, however, very, very stringently, I do not support Ubisoft. I do not support this product that they've got coming out. I do not support the people behind this product they have coming out. That being said, let's talk a little bit about the new Assassin's Creed game. Codenamed Infinity, at least as far as we're aware right now, that's the name we have. It's the next AC game, set to be about 4 to 5 years away. It's going to be a live service game, and that's what it is. What I want to talk about isn't really the game, it's about the people behind the game. With the point of this game, what the Ubisoft have decided to do is merge Ubisoft Montreal and Ubisoft Quebec as one team to make Assassin's Creed. Both development teams are going to be working on this game in Infinity, and it's going to be the Assassin's Creed game moving forward. Again, supposed to be a live service. Both teams will be working on it at one time. For this, they've needed new heads in new places because a lot of their old team members have left or were shitty people like Ashraf Ismail and were removed from their positions. So, in the interest of filling these positions, we have 2 new people joining in brand new positions within the company. A man by the name of Jonathan Dumont has joined as a new creative lead. He was previously the creative director for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and Marc-Alexis Cote, I don't know, I don't care, he's a cunt, was the creative director for Syndicate and has joined on as a new executive producer. Now, these 2 men have 2 very specific things in common. 1, they both were creative directed for really shit games, but 2, they were also both caught up in the speaking out movement back in 2020. While from the research I've done before this video, neither man was ever accused of sexual issues, sexual assault, stuff like that. They were both accused of kind of generally being shitty people, for a start. But Dumont specifically has been accused of being an incredibly toxic worker, using homophobic and misogynistic commentary and terms while also humiliating his employees, people below him, to a point of making them cry. And while Coate was apparently his superior, at some point was complicit and let it happen. He was aware and just let Dumont do it and get away with it. Alongside that, he's also said himself to be quite toxic and manipulative, telling employees, offering them the same things and having them fight each other for it, telling an employee on one day that they're doing amazing work and then giving them the cold shoulder the next day, to even being, apparently, he had a direct line to both Yves Guillemot, the Ubisoft CEO, and the former COO, Sergei Haskell, and would protect himself and his friends with their toxic behavior, allowing them to continue with it, while also killing careers within the company if people Coate just didn't like. So right now we're a year out of the Speaking Out movement. We're a year out of everything that went down, the initial push last year, and Ubisoft have done barely anything. Sergei Haskell resigned. We know some people who have, who were public figures, people like Ashraf Ismail, were released. But aside from that, everyone else was seemingly either left alone or had a swap of departments but kept their positions, just moved somewhere else. They didn't solve the issue. And now, a month after we find all that out, they're promoting people. People who were named in abuse of workers and, being homophobic and everything, getting fucking promoted, getting congratulated for their shitty behavior. This is the kind of behavior Ubisoft wants from its employees. Ubisoft wants you to make your co-workers hate each other. Ubisoft wants you to abuse power. Ubisoft want you to just be a cunt. That's what they want. That's what they want from their employees. They don't want a safe, friendly environment. They want you to be a dick. They just want you to be a massive dick. As someone who loved this company, loved their games when I was, from the ages of 9 to 14, all I wanted to play was the new Assassin's Creed game. And to see a company I used to fucking adore, like so much, I used to love everything they did. And to see them be such a shit company, such a fucking polluted and misguided cesspool, it's fucking so, deflating. I loved this company, and I loved their products. I loved the people behind their games. But knowing that this company is built on shitty people making shitty decisions and ruining lives and polluting the industry and just making shit, it's frustrating. But what's a little bit more frustrating is the lack of coverage that all this seems to get. Last year, it was massive. It was a big push, and then it died very quickly. And ever since, even last month when Hold Ubisoft Accountable was trending, it's never had that big push. And it's so frustrating because this could just be my opinion, I could be wrong, but from my point of view, nothing changes until everyone bands together, until everyone screams for the change. And there are people with such large followings in the gaming industry, whether they're in journalism, acting, development, writing, music, they have such a big audience that they could guide and help give this more fuel, help give more attention to it, because for some reason people seem to barely know what goes on, seem to barely know about anything about this, but people are just ignoring it. And you have, stuff like the Play, Watch, Listen podcast and Alana Pierce. They'll talk about, they'll defend Ubisoft having shitty microtransaction preferences and putting skins from old games in Valhalla, but making you pay again after you already paid for it in Origins or Odyssey. But they don't mention this. They don't talk about the sexual abuse. That entire cast it's disappointing because I look up to those people. And they're just ignoring it. People like Jason Schreier, who just today released an article talking about the new Assassin's Creed game, but since his first article last year hasn't mentioned once the abuse, hasn't mentioned the misconduct, has tried to bring them up on it, but spent how many fucking months going on about fucking grind and crunch? Poor management for these people is shit, but when the French company's fucking groping the receptionist, he talks about it once. It's one headline. It's just frustrating to see the gaming industry fucking try and kill itself from the inside. Like I said, it's my opinion that everyone should be screaming for change, and that's the only way we'll get changed. And that is my opinion. Whether you're me, a small minuscule channel with 70 subscribers just venting at this point. I have a script, I've barely used it, it's kind of just been cliff notes at this point. Or you're someone like Alana Pierce with 560,000 subscribers and a well listened to podcast with different voices in the industry, respected voices who could say, look, this is wrong and we need to bring awareness to this. You're Jason Schreier, who writes articles for Bloomberg, a major American company, and you talk about it once, but you go on for 6 months to years talking about crunch and how that's negative and bad for workers when, you know, Ubisoft raping their employees only deserves one article. And there are people talking about it, you know, the Four Pillars community, in this, you know, the Assassin's Creed community, the Sisterhood, those loud communities are talking, and it's great. But these major heads in the industry don't, and it's frustrating because as someone who loves video games and loves this industry and loves everything about it, I feel like the video game industry is letting itself get killed from the inside by this pollution that's in Ubisoft. But it's got to be everywhere else, surely. It's worldwide in Ubisoft. It's got to be in other places that we just don't know, because it gets swept under the rug. But if we change it once, we change it everywhere. We change the culture. And we need people to keep talking about it and keep making noise and not just let it go away, because that's what Ubisoft wants. That's what they want to do. They want to get away with it. They want to keep pushing people like Dumont and like Cote because they like them and they fit what they want, which is just scum. They want you to support their games that are being made and developed by the people at the top of this company who are just scum. And I don't want that. I don't want to support that company. I don't want that in this industry. I love this industry. I want it to be good. I want it to be better. I don't want to keep having the same shit coming out about the same company every single day, because it's what it feels like nowadays. Every week there's something new about Ubisoft. They fucked up something again. Someone else has come out with an accusation. They've done some other shitty microtransaction thing. Until we all stop letting companies do this, specifically the abuse, these are human beings that are just getting abused, and people don't seem to care. I don't know what to do other than make a video and talk about it. But I hope it changes. For the sake of the industry, for the sake of the fucking employees, for the sake of the people who had to sit there and watch it and have left because they know the environment they worked in, they know the shitty company they worked for, and they don't want to be there anymore. I want it to change. Because if we don't push, if we don't keep talking, if we don't keep screaming about it, it's not going to. And it's going to get swept under the rug and keep happening. And people like Dumont and Cote, whatever the cunt's name is, they'll continue to be rewarded for abusing human beings. And that's not okay.